Good evening, dear listener. I am Lady Aurelia Ravenshade, and before we descend, you should know this. Tonight's tale is not a gentle one. What you are about to hear is a story of cages, not all of them wrought from iron. Some are built of vows, of silence, of law, of hunger. The Gilded Cage is a chronicle of what happens when power mistakes patience for obedience, when the land itself remembers a crime, and when a woman, pressed to the breaking point, refuses, quietly at first, to bend. This recap will walk you through betrayals whispered behind stone walls, through bargains made in desperation, and through the terrible cost of survival when justice must be torn from the earth itself. Listen closely. Nothing here is accidental, and nothing that follows will remain buried. Now, let us return to Hawksmere Keep, to the moment the cage first closed.
Hello, listeners. This is a special, soft recap of the first novel in our series, The Scandalous Hours, The Gilded Cage. For those who want to relive every moment in print, the complete novel is available right now on Amazon as an ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Now, let's journey back to the beginning, to the rain-sodden stones of Hawksmere Keep, where a widow's quiet despair ignited a war that would shake the very foundations of the land. Part 1. The Stone and the Thorn. Our story begins with two profound losses. The first is the unjust hanging of Eamon Thorne, a freeholder murdered because he owned a parcel of land, Thorne's Hollow, that the powerful de Mowbray family coveted. His son, a boy named Eamon, watches from the woods, his soul forever scarred. The land remembers this sin. The second loss is that of Lady Alianor de Clervaux, not dead, but utterly trapped. A new widow, she finds herself at her husband Godfrey's wake, besieged by debt and by a vulture in velvet, Sir Roland de Mowbray. Roland offers a horrifying choice: become his wife, surrendering herself and her home, or watch as he uses legal trickery and vicious rumors to destroy her. Her world is one of damp stone, failing loyalties, and the desperate, worsening cough of her only true friend, her maid Bess. With Bess dying and no hope left within the walls, Alianor commits her first scandalous act. She ventures into the forbidden Thorne's Hollow. Alianor's first journey into Thorne's Hollow is not heroic. It is desperate, cold, and soaked through with fear. She slips from Hawksmere before dawn, crossing land that no longer feels like her own, carrying little more than stale bread, a borrowed dagger, and the weight of her maid's failing breath, driving her forward. The hollow itself is older than law, older than mercy. Beneath its suffocating canopy, Alianor finds not the monster of rumor, but Eamon Thorne, silent, watchful, and dangerous in his stillness. A charcoal burner by trade, he works the forest with brutal precision, his presence as unforgiving as the land that shelters him. He refuses her. He rejects her silver, her title, her pleas. He tells her to leave, makes it clear that her world of stone walls and soft lies has no place in his. But as she turns away in defeat, Alianor sees what he never intended her to notice: intricate carvings cut deep into the living trees. Not words, but symbols. A silent language etched into bark, patient, deliberate, and reverent. Art born of grief and memory. For the first time, Alianor understands that Eamon Thorne is not merely hiding from the world. He is speaking to something older than it. She leaves empty-handed, or so she believes. Back at Hawksmere, the herbs Eamon threw at her feet save Bess's life. The remedy works. The miracle is undeniable, and it draws attention. Sir Roland de Mowbray comes to her chamber under the guise of concern and delivers his ultimatum with velvet politeness. He questions her herbs. He corners her with implication and threat. He offers marriage not as partnership, but as possession, salvation, wrapped in surrender. Michaelmas becomes a deadline. The cage begins to close. That night, Alianor makes a choice that will change everything. She returns to the Hollow, not to beg, but to answer. Armed with nothing but a sewing awl and defiance, she carves a crude symbol into the bark beneath Eamon's masterful work, a small bird in flight. It is a thank you, a confession, a challenge. I see you. She is not alone. Eamon sees the carving, and he responds, not with words, but with something far more dangerous. That night, a wooden carving appears on Alianor's windowsill within Hawksmere itself. It is her face, not idealized, not softened, rendered with brutal accuracy. Fear, resolve, intelligence laid bare. Proof that he watched her, that he followed her, that the walls she thought protected her mean nothing. The silent dialogue has begun, and neither of them can turn back. There, she meets the man they call the Thorne. Eamon is a figure of winter and wrath, a charcoal burner living as an outlaw, who harshly refuses her pleas and her silver. But Alianor is persistent. She returns, offering not coin, but her raw, defiant truth. She sees the intricate carvings he makes on the ancient trees, a secret, silent language. He sees in her a spirit that refuses to break. A fragile, wary connection is forged in that damp hollow. Back at Hawksmere, the noose tightens. Roland's campaign is a masterclass in psychological siege. He sows doubt, leverages the silent scrutiny of Sister Marjorie, and isolates Alianor. In a final, breathtaking act of defiance during a public ceremony, Alianor and Eamon, who emerges from the woods to save Bess, are publicly accused of witchcraft. Roland's victory seems complete. He drags Alianor to the altar and forces her into a marriage of absolute possession. The consummation is an act of violent conquest. Hawksmere Keep becomes a beautiful, suffocating prison. This is the Gilded Cage. Alianor is its captive queen, enduring nightly violations while playing the obedient wife by day. But within this cage, a secret resistance is born. From his own imprisonment in the dungeons, Eamon begins to send small, carved tokens, a sparrow, a wolf, smuggled by the brave and trembling Bess. These carvings become a language of their own, a lifeline of hope and silent rebellion. Alianor's spirit, though battered, is not broken. She gathers allies, the steadfast steward Tom, the morally conflicted Father Clement, and the weary but resilient people of Hawksmere, like the miner Len and the grieving mother Alara. The rebellion catches fire when Alianor publicly denounces Roland, triggering a cataclysm in the mine he's exploiting. From the dust and chaos, Eamon rises, not as a prisoner, but as an avenger. Roland is captured. It seems like justice has arrived, but tyranny has an heir. Enter Sir Jocelyn de Mowbray, Roland's cousin. He is everything Roland was not, polished, patient, and armed with the cold, hard power of the law. He lays a new siege, one of paperwork and propaganda, starving Hawksmere into submission behind its own walls. Winter becomes Hawksmere's second siege. As snow buries the valley, 3 men, Gareth, Jory, and Mick, die retrieving firewood from a ravine, their deaths a brutal reminder that survival itself has become a gamble. Fear spreads faster than hunger. Whispers take root. Sister Marjorie's poison blooms. Alianor holds the line. She rallies the people not with comfort, but resolve, naming despair as Roland's final weapon. Yet she knows morale alone will not save them. Sir Jocelyn's assault has reached the courts, bolstered by Furness Abbey and false reports of chaos. The sheriff sends word. Roland may yet be freed. Only one thing can stop it. Sister Marjorie's full confession. Alianor responds not with mercy, but strategy. Marjorie is moved to a freezing storeroom beside the chapel, isolated, frightened, cut off from Furness's protection. Brother Cuthbert is allowed to visit, unknowingly tightening the trap, convincing Marjorie her salvation lies in cooperation. When the truth finally breaks, it is damning. Marjorie confesses Roland's long campaign of control, blackmail, manipulation, and vengeance. She admits he framed Eamon Thorne to settle an old grudge, that he bled the mine dry for gambling debts, that he coveted Lady Alianor not only for Hawksmere, but for power itself, and that Sir Godfrey's death was no accident, but the quiet removal of an obstacle. Her sworn deposition is taken at once and sealed for the sheriff, justice forged in fear and cold. But salvation arrives wearing a familiar mask. Furness Abbey's grain cart breaks through the snow, bringing food and demands. Marjorie must be released. Brother Cuthbert reinstated. The Abbey seeks to reclaim control under the guise of mercy. Alianor refuses. When a stolen silver cross is discovered on one of the Abbey's men, the illusion shatters. Charity is revealed as leverage. The cart leaves empty of witnesses, but heavy with consequence. The deposition rides south at once. That night, Lord Edmund stirs from his fog with a final warning, muttering of a poisoned well, of blackened roots beneath the stone, a prophecy, or a confession remembered too late. The siege is no longer just legal, it is in the land itself. As this external pressure mounts, Alianor uncovers Roland's deepest, most insidious crime. With the help of the broken prophetic mumbling of old Lord Edmund and the terrified confessions of Sister Marjorie, she learns that Roland didn't just poison the people's lives, he poisoned their water. He tainted the very spring that fed Hawksmere's well with arsenic and lime, a slow, debilitating poison designed to make them weak, sick, and utterly dependent on the food he provided. This is the bitter spring. Trapped between Jocelyn's army and the poison in their own veins, Alianor and Eamon face their darkest hour. Jocelyn captures Tom and Bess, building a platform before the gates. His ultimatum is brutal. Surrender Alianor and Eamon for justice, or watch their friends be executed at noon. With hope nearly extinguished, Alianor makes the most scandalous choice of all. They will not fight this army of men. They will appeal to a power older than any king. They descend once more into the heart of the mountain, to the cavern where the bitter spring flows. There, they find more than poisoned water. They find a presence, a slumbering, angry consciousness in the rock, agitated by Roland's toxins. They cannot command it. Instead, Alianor speaks to it. She lays their carved tokens before a pulsating green fissure and bears witness. You were wronged. We fight the same poison. Help us. Then, with a crowbar and a hammer, they strike the heart of the stone. What follows is not a battle. It is an apocalypse. As Jocelyn gives the execution order, the meadow beneath his camp erupts. The earth splits. Geysers of emerald fire scream from fissures, swallowing his command tent, his banners, his ambition. The land itself rises in judgment, shattering his army not with swords, but with pure tectonic fury. In the chaos, Tom and Bess are rescued. Jocelyn's forces flee, broken. The siege is over. Part 2, the hearthfire kept. Victory is ashes. Alianor stands on her battlements, looking at the scorched, weeping wounds in the earth. She feels no triumph, only a terrifying weight. She has saved her people by awakening a power she does not understand. She has traded a tyrant's sword for a covenant with a sleeping dragon. Her crown is not of gold, but of thorns, woven from sacrifice and steeped in a primordial terror. In the fragile, exhausted peace that follows, the people of Hawksmere try to rebuild, but they are starving. Winter is closing in, and they are ruled by a woman who conversed with the earth's wrath. The silence is heavy with awe and fear. It is in this silence that a new, more dangerous threat arrives, not with horns and banners, but with quiet efficiency. A man named Master Silas Vane of the Carthage Syndicate presents himself. He is polite, precise, and holds a portfolio of legal documents. He informs Alianor that his syndicate has purchased all of Hawksmere's crushing debts. He offers a partnership, forgive all debts, provide food and security, in exchange for exclusive mineral rights and unfettered access to survey the land, including Thorn's Hollow and the Scarred Meadow. The offer is salvation wrapped in a contract. It is a gilded cage of a different kind, its bars made of resin and full bellies. To refuse is to condemn her people to starvation. To accept is to hand the mysterious, green-veined heart of the land over to men who see it not as a sacred force, but as a resource to be extracted. Alianor and Eamon, reeling from this new war of ledgers, discover the horrifying truth. The syndicate is not a new player. Searching the ruins of the de Mowbray Manor, they find old ledgers. The Carthage Syndicate financed Roland's father. The hanging of Eamon Thorne was a business decision, a title clearance for their asset. They find Jocelyn, not dead, but utterly mad, muttering about the crimson mechanism, a machine the syndicate plans to build to harness the green power. The de Mowbrays were never the true masters. They were just the violent, blunt instruments. Now that they are broken, the true architects have come to claim their prize. Facing annihilation by starvation or assimilation by contract, Alianor makes a desperate gambit. She will appear to say yes. She will accept the Syndicate's partnership, but on her terms. Eamon Thorne, the land's own son, will be the chief surveyor, the gatekeeper to its deep places. It is a move to stall, to learn the enemy's plans, and to protect the slumbering power beneath their feet. As the chapter closes, a wagon from the Syndicate arrives at the gate, unloading sacks of oats and salted pork, a goodwill gesture. The pressure is no longer a threat. It is a tantalizing, full-bellied reality. The first silent gear of the Crimson mechanism has begun to turn. And that, listeners, is where the first novel, The Scandalous Hours, The Gilded Cage, leaves us. Alianor and Eamon have survived wars of steel and earth, only to face a war of ink and ambition. The cage has changed shape, but the fight for freedom is fiercer than ever. If you want to experience every detail of this journey, the whispers in the hollow, the terror of the dungeon, the world-shattering green fire, the complete book is waiting for you. Find The Scandalous Hours, The Gilded Cage on Amazon, in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And stay tuned. The next chapter in the saga, The Scandalous Hours, The Crimson Mechanism, begins soon. The contract has been offered. The clockwork is winding. The most scandalous hours are yet to come. Until then, remember, some cages have bars of iron. Others are built from promises too good to be true.
And so we arrive at the end of The Gilded Cage. Though you and I both know this was never truly an ending. The tyrant has fallen, the land has spoken, yet the bars remain, refined now, invisible, forged from contracts and carefully chosen words. What Lady Alianor has claimed is not peace but burden, not freedom but vigilance. The sword has been replaced by ink and the battlefield by the ledger. If you wish to experience every whispered betrayal, every carved warning, every moment of fire and stone for yourself, The Scandalous Hours, The Gilded Cage is available now on Amazon, in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And for those who desire something more personal, signed, autographed copies are available exclusively through my personal website at LadyAureliaRavenshade.com. But take heed, dear listener, this story is far from finished. Season 2 is coming soon. The Scandalous Hours. The Crimson mechanism will be dropping shortly, and the gears have already begun to turn. Remember this, before we part, the most dangerous cages do not lock from the outside. They invite you in, and ask only that you never question the cost. Until we meet again, .. Keep your keys close, your bargains precise, and never trust a promise that arrives with a full belly and an empty warning.